95%. That's how often B2B buyers purchase from the shortlist that they had on day one of their buying journey, before they talked to a single salesperson, before they sat through a single demo, before your SDR even knew the deal existed. If you're not on that list, you're not competing. And if you're running an AI company right now, this should concern you. I'm Morgan McLintic. I run Firebrand. We're a PR and marketing agency that works with AI companies. I want to walk through the research on this because it's not just one study. 6sense surveyed nearly 4,000 global buyers over 3 consecutive years. Buyers evaluate an average of 5 vendors. They have prior experience with 4 of those 5. They fill 4 spots on their shortlist on day 1, and they buy from that list 95% of the time. And that's actually up from 85% the year before. Shortlists are getting more locked, not less. Now, you could point out that 6sense has a bit of a commercial interest in this finding because they sell intent data, and that's a fair point. But let's look who else is saying the same thing. Forrester surveyed over 11,000 purchase influencers. 92% start their journey with at least one vendor already in mind, and 41% already have a single preferred vendor before any formal evaluation. And Forrester calls the sales process a process of confirmation, not selection. Gartner's 2025 research of 3,500 buyers found that the purchasing journey starts with a shortlist of about 4.5 vendors. 53% cite that vendors' reputation as a key factor in making the initial cut. That's 3 different firms with 3 different methodologies and different sample sizes, all finding the same thing. And it goes further. 94% of buying groups rank their shortlist in order of preference before they talk to sales. The vendor ranked first wins about 80% of the time. By the time your SDR gets that reply to an email, the decision is largely made. The SDR didn't lose the deal. The deal was never really available. Trust Radius found that 86% of enterprise buyers had shortlisted at least one product that they already knew before starting detailed research. The Insight Collective found that 85% of B2B decision makers are inclined to shortlist vendors that they recognize and trust. Brand recognition isn't a nice to have. It's the qualifying criterion. If your buyer doesn't know your name before they start buying, you don't get considered. I do want to be fair about the data though. Gartner also found that 83% of buyers alter their initial lineup during the process. Roughly 1 vendor gets dropped at each stage. The list isn't completely locked. There is a window to get in and there's a window to get knocked out. But that also reinforces the point. You need awareness to get on the list and you need a good reputation to stay on it. And both of those are brand problems. So let's define what we mean by brand awareness here, because it's a term that gets used pretty loosely. We're not talking about logo recognition, and we're not talking about doing ads at the Super Bowl. In B2B tech, brand awareness is pretty specific. Does your target buyer know who you are, roughly understand what you do, and have some basis for trusting you before they start a formal buying process? That's the bar. That awareness gets built through a combination of things. Earned media that puts your name in front of the right audiences, executive visibility, which is where your founders become recognizable in their space, thought leadership content, presence on review sites and in analyst conversations, word of mouth from peers, advertising in the right places that your audience gathers, and increasingly, it means showing up in AI-generated search results and recommendations. None of those things work on their own. A single press hit won't do it. A single blog post won't either. It's the accumulation of touch points over time. The buyer probably doesn't remember where they first heard of you. They just know your name when it matters. And that is the shortlist problem. It applies to every B2B company. But there's a reason that we're making this specifically about AI companies. There are over 67,000 companies in the generative AI space alone. And that doesn't even account for the established software vendors who are sort of embedding AI into their products. Now, all of these companies are making similar claims. They're all using similar language. They're all going after similar buyers. The technical differentiators are often invisible to the buying committee who's making the actual decision. And 94% of B2B buyers are also using those large language models as part of their purchase journey. They're asking ChatGPT and Perplexity to compare vendors. And if your brand isn't showing up in those AI generated recommendations, you're getting cut from lists before a human even looks at them. The research across Forrester, Sixth Sense, and Gartner all points to the same thing. The winner almost always comes from the early shortlist. And if your target buyer doesn't know your name before they start buying, you're not on that list. And no amount of SDR outreach or demand gen spend is going to fix that. If you want to win more deals, start by being known. Subscribe, and we'll show you how.